Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Good evening and welcome, everyone. I'm Deanne Klein, and I'm the Voter Services Chair of the League of Women Voters of Mason County. And welcome to this Mason County panel discussion with incumbents and candidates for school districts in Hood Canal and Grapeview. And we have 5 school board candidates here this evening. Kimberly Miller, Rebecca Rodman, Jimmy Harris, all from Hood Canal, and Wes Martin from Grapeview. The League of Women Voters recognizes the critical work of school boards in ensuring a strong and vibrant community. We are also aware of the pressures that school board directors are facing. This election year, we've decided to sponsor a civic education program designed to let the public know more about the work of school boards and provide the opportunity to learn about our incumbents and new candidates. We want to know more about their views, their thoughts, and what they think makes a strong school district. We kicked off our civics education series with a program featuring representatives from Washington State School Board Association, Washington Association of School Administrators, and superintendents and school board directors from the state. They explain the roles and responsibilities of school directors, what they're able to do and not do, how they interact with school staff, administration, parents, and the community. This program took place on September 19th. It was recorded by Mason Web TV, and it's available for viewing on the Mason Web TV website, and it's also on the League of Women Voters Mason County website. Our next event is on October 11th at 6:30 p.m., where we have invited school board incumbents and candidates from Pioneer Southside, Merriam Knight, and McCleary to participate in a panel discussion. And both of these sessions will again be recorded by Mason Web TV and available for viewing on their website and on the League of Women Voters Mason County website. On October 17th at 6:30 in the PUD 3 meeting room, we are featuring our popular speed dating with the candidate events. The candidates for Shelton School Board, City Council, and Superior Court Judge have been invited to participate. During this event, the public sits at tables around the room. Candidates move from table to table, answering questions from their constituents and visiting with the voters. And this will also be recorded by Mason Web TV. So I think we'll go ahead and get started. We have 10 questions today, and I will start with Kimberly Miller. Kimberly, can you tell us about yourself? What qualifies you to serve on a school board, and why you want to serve or continue serving on the board? I will unmute you.
Better?
Yep, gotcha.
I was approached by the superintendent of Hood Canal School a little over a year ago, and asked, and it was something I really didn't have on my mind. And then once I started considering it and looking into it, I became more and more interested and feel like it's an important role for us to have here, representing a large chunk of the school that attends and being able to make more clear some of the barriers that I don't know that too many other people could, other than a Skokomish tribal member. So I was also a social service director for about 8 years with another tribal or Native American woman, Cheryl Miller, who her specialty is Indian child welfare. And that's where I became aware of Gary, like systems of care has a lot of the same connections that I worked with. Mason County, Thurston County Services. Not all of our students and families are registered Skokomish tribal members. Some are mixed. So being able to mix with them, I learned a lot of services that I wouldn't have otherwise. So now it's a good fit because I'm aware of the services that are available. So it's I'm on top. That's not my job to do that, but still making sure that Hood Canal has access to all the services that are around and being able to be a part of being more aware of policies than I would have been had I not been the director of the social service program. My background is I am a gatherer. I am was raised extremely traditional and cultural. The older I get, I'm 63 now. I realize how blessed and wealthy that I am because I have a lot of tribal knowledge that I think is important for our students. And on my own time, I build that up and being able to see how it impacts the students and the family in the school. And then even above that, it's just a view that I don't know that I would have had not I if I didn't do this. So I went from just being a cultural specialist at our tribe, asked to be the director. That I told him the director I would not direct because it wasn't mine. I was into culture and traditions, and they said without the right director, that will be the first to go. So that's how I got into that step, and I learned so much. And it's so important to be represented in the state and federal programs. And so now at Hood Canal, it's just another level that I'm learning. I love the people that I work with. I can't say enough good about them. And so it's been something that I love now, but I really wasn't aware until someone asked me to do it from Hood Canal School.
Thank you. Rebecca Rodman, if you could answer that same question, tell us about yourself, what qualifies you to serve on a school board, and why you want to serve or continue serving. And you probably need to unmute yourself.
There we go. Now I'm unmuted, right?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for this opportunity. So I guess I'll start with what has prepared me for this position, and particularly this position. I initially was interested a couple of years ago and was in contact with a Shelton School Board member. She had been on it for quite a few years. And so her and I got together and we were talking, and I actually tried to submit my candidacy for Shelton School District because my history in Mason County is very long, and it involves Hood Canal School, Shelton School District, the state of Washington, Squaxin Island tribe, Skokomish tribe. And so I thought Shelton School District, which is where I have granddaughters currently attending. But when I tried to do that, they said I wasn't living in the right district, and it was only pulling up Hood Canal. And I thought, okay, well, this is where I start then. If I'm not eligible for Shelton School District, then I will go where I'm eligible. And so that is what prompted me to submit my candidacy. Other reasons, of course, I just mentioned, I have grandchildren in the school system. My children went to Hood Canal years ago. I volunteered hundreds of hours when they were in school. I was very involved. I worked as a substitute in every area of the Hood Canal School. I was even PTA president at Hood Canal School. Like I said, my history's long in this area. I also did an internship at Hood Canal School. I completed my teaching, my student teaching at Hood Canal School. I have a bachelor's in education. And so I've always been around school and school district and my kids. And I did take a break as my career path changed. I was with the state of Washington for 9 years, and that was a great opportunity for me to learn all of the state policies and procedures. And so that also added to my ability, skills, and knowledge. I am also blessed to say, as I might have mentioned, I worked for Skokomish tribe for 5 years in the education department. I was first Head Start lead teacher, and then as I was working through my degree, I began working for the Education Center for the high schoolers. So I went from little guys to big guys and saw the tremendous impact, particularly in this realm. I really hold that time very dear to me. I still have many valued relationships, and I see some of my young people now that are having babies and they're in their own careers, and I just it's just so inspiring to me, the lifelong impact that educators can have. And so I just want to make sure that I'm doing my part and being a part of the community as I am allowed to be and have the opportunity to be, and to value those relationships and continue cultivating those relationships, because that is really where I believe everything starts from, is from relationships. So thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. And now, Jimmy Harris, if we can ask that same question of you. And you will need to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Well, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity to speak with you guys tonight. And I think this is a very important part of our democracy, is making sure that we have these conversations. So with my gratitude. I am a dad of two, and I live in Union. And we've been out in Union since 2019, but before that, my husband and I lived in Seattle, but we were foster parents. And we bought a house out in Union in 2012. We'd come on the weekends and bring the foster kids, and we decided to raise our boys out here. They're now almost 9 and 7. So 4th grade and 2nd grade at Hood Canal School. Prior to being on the board, I'm an incumbent right now. Prior to being on the board at Hood Canal School, I've served on the boards of several co-op preschools. And I've also been involved in lots of different community organizations in and around Kitsap County, where we own several small businesses. So I have an MBA from City University of Seattle. I worked in executive level jobs at Amazon and Zulily and drugstore.com. But now I own several small businesses. We operate some cafes and convenience stores and ice cream shop in Kitsap County. And I'm a product of public school. I grew up in a public school. I was from a very poor family. And my husband is a product of public schooling, both in Washington State. And when we moved to Union, we made the very conscious decision to not homeschool and to not put our kids into private school like many of their friends are. And we realized it was a Title I school that we were putting our kids into, and we wanted to purposely choose to not opt out. We wanted to opt in. We wanted to make a difference in our community by participating in our community. We've made amazing friends over the years with the staff, the teachers, and also just the other parents. Our kids have a very diverse group of friends because of our decision. We're very happy with that. And they're learning a lot of really good life skills. So I joined the board after being on several committees, parent committees with prior board members. There was a vacancy. I want to say it was 19 months ago, where I was encouraged by several staff members and parents to join the board for the at-large position. I bring a very unique perspective. I'm the only parent on the board. And so I always make sure that there is a parent voice in all of our conversations, especially when we're talking about community engagement and how schedules and different things that the superintendent brings to us might impact our students. So I'm very excited to continue that. I'd like the opportunity to make sure that a parent voice remains on the board. And also that as an independent, we're in a very diverse community with lots of people on the hard left and the hard right, and I go straight down the middle. And I think there's a lot of dividing issues out there in the world, but I think that usually people are coming with lots of perspectives, and we can find a middle ground. And so I like to bring that to all of our discussions as well.
Thank you. And Wes Martin from Grapeview School District 54. Could you answer that question for us?
Sure. I even remembered to unmute.
You did. I didn't have to say it, did I?
Well, I caught you before you had to. So I actually served with Deanne when she was on our board. That goes way back, huh? So my name's Wes Martin. I live in Grapeview. I'm a Grapeview resident. Like Jimmy, I have two daughters, so it's the opposite. And we were foster parents, and we adopted them out of foster care at I believe ages 6 and 8. And we wanted, of course, the best education that we could provide. I'm also a business owner, have been for 32 years, and we wanted the best for them. And so we looked at private schools, we looked at charter schools, and then we interviewed the staff at or the leadership at Grapeview. And we actually came to the conclusion that Grapeview was a better choice for our kids. I'm a product of public school as well, and but I'm also old enough to remember being on my high school's rifle team. Huh? That's probably shocking to a lot of you guys. But Minnesota, so anyway, let's see. So I would say that my wife and we were very, very involved in our kids' education. They didn't come from the best backgrounds, and we wanted their future to be positive, and we wanted them to realize that they weren't victims, and that they could basically be anything that they wanted, and be strong, independent women when they grew up, and we wanted to kind of foster that. Now, does that border on helicopter parent? Probably. Probably. We hovered probably a little bit too much. But having said that, I was involved in a lot of different activities through the school facilities committee, the PTA. My wife was in leadership at the PTA. And when a school member moved out of district, I was appointed to the school board. And now I think I'm running for my third or fourth term, and against this person named Write-In, and I don't know, it's been really difficult. But so anyway, I am running unopposed. However, lots has changed since I got on the board. Education is challenging. Public school system is challenging, and there's a lot that goes into it. And I firmly believe it's one of the more important positions somebody can hold. But it's also the least appreciated and least respected position as well, because it doesn't come with a lot of political power, and you don't get paid by lobbyists. But it is also very rewarding, and I believe that I bring a lot of kind of business sense, which is results orientated, and a background in finance to the school, and I can lend those skills to whatever projects that we have going on. I am the longest serving member on our board, and also the youngest, and the only one that has had kids go through the school. I believe that that we should definitely recruit parents to sit on the school board, because that is a perspective that's needed. So anyway, that's just a quick rundown about me.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to go next to Rebecca Rodman with this question, and it's very possible that all the candidates will come up with the same answer, because it is a role, it is a primary responsibility of a school director. But when you're called upon, please do feel free to add anything to it. So, Rebecca Rodman, according to state law, what is the primary responsibility of a school director?
This may speak to my inexperience in the whole realm, but I am eager to learn. And as I mentioned, have been in the state arena for many years. So I don't see it as a hindrance that I don't have experience currently. But nonetheless, I think the primary role of the school board is to ensure that the environment for learning is appropriate and productive for our students. And I know that they also oversee the superintendent and policies, and they review curriculum. So those are the things that I do know. And I see those as being the primary role of the school board.
Thank you. And we'll go to Jimmy Harris now for that question.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So having served on the school board for the past just over a year and a half, we actually went through some training as a group that I encouraged, because there had been some changeover in our school board. So we got to learn a lot, and it actually helped. We have a new superintendent who started this year, a new administration. So the perspective is the school board is not the administration. The school board is there to make sure that we hire, we supervise, we evaluate the superintendent. He or she are the people that run the school after we have chosen those people. Also, setting our vision and mission, making sure that we are setting the tone that the superintendent then applies, and then adopting and reviewing policies, that the state comes through, making sure that they fit within our school district. A lot of them are required, are mandatory, but we still have to adopt those. So, and then just making sure we're watching the budget and that we're engaging with the community that we serve.
Thank you. And let's go now to Wes. Martin.
Well, I echo a lot of the sentiments that Jimmy just said. Really the board, school board, is the community's oversight of the school, and kind of a liaison to work, the community's way of working with the school to achieve the best results possible. The school's serving a client, and that client is the community, where the school is hired to educate the community's youth, and I'll kind of help them become the citizens that we want them to be, the productive citizens with good character. And so the board oversees policies. More and more policies are kind of forced upon us by OSPI. I'm sure there's going to be questions later about challenges of the school system, so I'll save my rant for that. But we also we also are the superintendent's boss. Like we have 5 members on our board, so I'm 1/5 of our superintendent's supervisor and boss, and it's our job to correct them when they need it, to applaud them when they deserve it, and to support them when, in their leadership and when they're supporting the leadership that we as a board want. Now, the other thing too is that, boards help keep schools from just going completely off the rails too. If some crazy idea comes up and it's going to bankrupt the school, it's the board's duty to stand in the way of that. And so, it's an important job, but you are not a micromanager. You are not the administration. You set the policy, and the administration sets the procedure.
Thank you.
That's it.
And Kimberly Miller from Hood Canal.
What Jimmy said, as well as one of the things that I was able to add was the MOU with the tribe. So that would be government to government. It would be the superintendent meeting with our tribal council. So making sure that that's set up, as well as introducing the superintendent to the director of Skokomish Education, so that he knows where to send his workers and to get that connection.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to question number 3, and we'll start with Jimmy Harris from from Hood Canal, excuse me. What are the 3 top issues within your district?
Thank you. We have a lot of challenges and a lot of opportunities in our district. Mostly because, yes, we're a Title I school. Our school is located on tribal land. We have a very diverse staff and a student body, but we also have some really unique things about our school because of its setting and with nature and different things. So 3 top issues facing our district right now: student academic performance. It was there before COVID. It was worsened by COVID. If anything, our student body was impacted more by COVID because of the amount of poverty in our school. I had my boys were in kindergarten and preschool when COVID hit, and they had to do it on the laptop. And it was huge exposure for me to watch our poor teachers trying to engage with kindergartners and preschoolers over laptops for a big part of that year, and watching as older siblings would help younger siblings log on and then go off to their own classes too. There are cohorts of students that were impacted by COVID that are moving through the grades that need to catch up and are very far behind. So student academic performance, making sure that all of our students can read at their grade level before we send them on to Shelton High School. That's a really big one. Making sure that their math and science are there, getting them caught up, getting those cohorts that were most impacted caught up. Stable leadership. When I joined the school board, we had just lost a superintendent who'd only been there for, I think, about 2 years. We had a superintendent that came on just as I was joining the school board. He did not work out. He moved on, and we're very fortunate this year to have a very experienced superintendent finally. The atmosphere in our school is amazing compared to prior years. The staff is doing well, which will help. But that stable leadership, giving that an opportunity to grow and thrive. And then just making sure that our facility constraints are addressed. We have a bond out right now. We have kids who are doing art. They're learning art on the stage. We can't use our stage because it's serving as an art classroom. We don't have a music program. Our science classrooms don't have labs, so our kids aren't dissecting frogs or, learning all of those really basic things that when they go on to Shelton High School, all the other 7th and 8th graders have done. So our facility constraints, our student academic performance, and our stable leadership, I think, are our top three.
Thank you. And Wes, what are the top three issues in Grapeview School District?
Well, I'll say that academic performance is one of them, even though our school, all of our averages are pretty well ahead of the state averages and pretty well ahead of most school districts in Mason County. However, saying that, if the state average for English language is 52% are meeting, state standards, and we're at 61%, I mean, that's still pretty bad. So I would say that really focusing on that is a priority. Being a small school, we're only a K through 8, so we have 240 kids on average this year. We're also located in an area where the tax base shows the state that we're an affluent area, right? So any assistance or opportunity for additional funds really usually does not come to us, because we're just, oh, well, look at all your tax base. Well, really only about 19% of our residents are, have kids. And so that's also a challenge as well, keeping the community engaged. Let's see. And so, so funding, academic performance, and I would say community engagement are all challenges for us.
Thank you. Kimberly, why don't you tell us some more about Hood Canal?
I am here. I have a 24-year-old special needs daughter who is in a lot of pain right now, so I apologize. Hood Canal and the barriers, from my view, is connection to the families. So yes, all of the things Jimmy was saying, but I think the way to resolve that is to get family involvement so that we can all make a plan together, so that the successes falling from school into the household and back and forth, and having our hunters and gatherers will go through, sometimes due to the seasons, 3 different cell phone numbers. So the biggest barrier is keeping that connection. And I think working together is going to solve that. And it impacts all of our students, not just tribal students, but all of our students. So each time, the thing that I think is most important, on top of all the things Jimmy said, is making sure that we have the right connection, even in a good fun event, that we're updating the contact information so that we're reaching out to the correct individual. A lot of times we might be calling a grandmother that really doesn't have the ability to follow through. So we kind of look and case manage the students to make sure that we're getting that connection. And I believe that's an important part, and also with attendance. So a lot of changes are being made with attendance this year, and I think we're all doing this at the same time. So we're going to see a big improvement in that. And if we just keep following that for everything else, I think it will greatly impact all of the grades, and not the labs and things that we need, music programs, but it will get parent involvement so that we can, have votes for our levies and things that come up. So I think it's the key to our success, us all working together in our way, some with, financially, some with time. Background checks is another one, so that our families, a lot of people don't know that they can go to the school because they were told not to go in during COVID, and that's kind of in their heads still. So that was a kind of a unusual find. So just making sure that the background checks and that the parents and legal guardians are aware that they can come in school and be part of the fix. I think would make a big change. And getting them early in the morning so that our students want to be there early in the morning, playing basketball or something creative, doing something creative involving our parents and adults and people that want to make a difference in our communities.
Thank you. And Rebecca, what are your top 3 issues within the district?
Well, I think that it's going to be sounding a little echoey, but that's okay, because it would serve the thought that we all are kind of on the same page, and these things are a matter of priority. So graduating students, and when I say graduating, I mean anytime they're making a transition from one grade to another, and making sure they are well educated, well-rounded, and prepared for the next chapter in their academic life. And that life being the goal, the bigger picture, which I think is super important as well, to always continually keep that bigger picture as a common theme, so that people know where they're going, and young children know where they're going, and as I think it was mentioned, into a valued and positively contributor of their citizenship. So that's one, is of course making them, ensuring that they do have what they need and they're equipped. And another one would be, and it again it's been already mentioned, but doing everything possible to genuinely engage all parents and families and communities. Hood Canal has several different pockets of communities, of course, many, probably all school districts do. And so engaging not just those closest or most prominent, but reaching into the weeds, and ensuring that they are involved. And I think during COVID in particular, there was a loss of trust, and especially when parents are seeing what's going on in the classrooms, and as I think Kimberly mentioned, they're thought that they're not welcome in the school. And so ensuring that they know that they are welcome in the school, they can see the children's curriculum, they can come into the classroom, and that's not a barrier for them, because otherwise it's still going to feel like a barrier, a wall, a challenge. So doing everything possible to genuinely engage all parents and families and communities surrounding that school district or a part of that school district. And then ensuring an environment for our children, our students, all of the students, as being one of the top priorities. Of course, we know there's all different kinds of experiences and traumas and backgrounds, and really honoring those things, and just making sure that, again, the environment is ripe for all students to be a learning, healthy, safe, productive environment.
Thank you. So we'll move on to question 4 now, and we'll start with Wes. Do you envision yourself as a champion of public education, and how?
Well, that's a tough question, because when you see our academic performance, our return on our investment sliding, and you get these ever increasing demands by OSPI that are like non-educational related, you sort of, you're questioning what's broken, right? How do we fix it? And I don't hear too many voices at the top talking about how to address, or how to find out what's broken. Why is it that the state spends over 50% of its budget on education, and we have abysmal results, right? What's the explanation for that, and how do we fix it? I don't hear people talking about that. So it's hard for, while I believe in public education and I believe in its mission, I do believe that we are having some serious challenges and we're failing our children at kind of the basic level. And so I would really like the leadership in the state to admit that and to start looking at solutions, and all of us start kind of dealing with the elephant in the room, and instead of kind of turning the other way. So to answer the question, short story long, yes, I am a believer in public education, but I'm also a believer in alternative choices, like charter and private school as well, wherever the parents can find the best education for their children. And I do believe that we can make a difference and kind of repair what's ailing our system. It's just that we need the leadership to step up and lead in that direction.
Kimberly, could you answer that question, please?
I heard the question. I'm just thinking,
do you want me to read it to you again?
Yes, please.
Do you envision yourself as a champion of public education, and how?
That's a challenging question. Do I view myself? I think I'm an important role, and I think it's all of us, and I'm a small piece. But without my piece, it can't be complete. So I think all of our pieces are equally as important. And I think it takes all of us and touching base together to make sure we're all moving in the right direction. But even someone that's moving opposite may see something that's, because we're so different. And I think that's what it takes for us to all be different, unique, and so that there is a good representation for all of our students, our territory, our area, our community, and Hood Canal School District. So I believe I have an important role, and I look forward to doing good work.
Thank you. And Rebecca, do you envision yourself as a champion of public education, and how?
Thank you. I have to say that I do believe that I am a champion of public education, only because I am a product of public education. My high school years, I did go to private school 1st through 8th grade, but then went into public education for my graduation, or for my high school. But all my children went through public education, and I have become very interested, very interested, passionately interested in the history of public education and how that came to be. And unfortunately, I guess I might not have been listening during the formative years when I did get into history classes into my high school years. Or maybe they just didn't address it. But now, learning more about the history of public education, it is just so mind-boggling, and it's just so incredible, and it just excites me. And I want to ensure that everyone is aware of the beginnings of public education. Not only that, as I mentioned, I was very involved with my children in public education, and even when I worked for the school district, and I worked for special needs for 10 years. But even then, bringing my children into the realm of special needs and getting their values and ethics and learning about other people was just so important. And I also took the opportunity when it came to coach at the high school, and just all the different realms of this net, this wonderful supportive net that the school district, the schools, public schools provide for students. However, I also really understand and believe that it is the parents' responsibility to direct their children's education. But yes, I do see myself as a champion. Not that I can control what other people do. And yes, it takes a team and a body and a community and the taxpayers and the stakeholders. But I have control over what I do. And I believe that I have worked very hard to support public education, be a part of it, participate, and encourage it.
Thank you. And Jimmy, you could answer that question, please.
Yes, thank you. I don't know if champion is the right adjective, but advocate is definitely one. I can tell you that I was advocating with some other board members and our superintendent for an upcoming bond that we have at a community dinner in Lilywop a few weeks ago. And oh boy, oh golly, did I ever feel like I was there representing, public education was, there were people that very much support it, and there were people that very much don't have kids in the system. They're retired, and they were questioning what's going on in the school and whatnot. So yes, I do champion and advocate for public school. A lot of people in this day and age, they self-select. They move to the best school districts. They put their kids in private schools or religious schools or homeschool them and then send them on to different universities. Everyone's trying to give their kids the best chance. But the reason that public schools are so important, the reason that I care enough to join the board and to have been on the boards in the preschools and whatnot, is not just for my own kids. Like I said, I grew up in a poor family. I wouldn't be here without it. And there are kids that can't go anywhere else. Our district's a big district. They can't go to a nearby school. Their parents don't know how to do those things. And those kids deserve just as much opportunity as everyone else. And if we just keep self-selecting and the people who can move and don't get involved, then we have schools that languish and we have schools that thrive. I have a business on Bainbridge Island. And oh my gosh, they have foundations and they have all these programs and they have all of this extra funding. I see what our school has and what their school has. They're both public schools. And I believe that there's a role for all of them. But I believe that we have a responsibility, especially if we have kids in the district, or we know kids in the district, we have a responsibility to those kids to give them the opportunity that came before us. We have to be good stewards. And I believe that that responsibility is something that a lot of people don't take up. And that's my community responsibility. I was raised to become a productive member of society. I'm raising my kids to do that too. And this is my way of doing that.
Thank you. We're going to move on to question number 5 now, and we'll start with Kimberly. Kimberly, board positions are nonpartisan. With that in mind, how do you ensure that you represent your entire community, especially when subgroups of your community come to you with a request to make decisions favoring their beliefs?
I'm fortunate to have had a lot of access with services, thoughts, dreams, and programs that aren't something that would work for all of our community members. And it goes back and forth. So I feel quite confident in being able to move forward and not everyone's not going to agree, but we have to work together, and that we represent our students in a way at how we all operate at our levels. And we never know, we might learn something along the way. So listening, observing, I'm learning a lot. I believe I really give a lot of views and thoughts and consideration that wouldn't have been there, but it's the same. I think we're equally learning from each other. And so that's how our world is at Hood Canal School District. There's a lot of, Simpson came in. So a lot of our tribal members have close ties and relationships with strong community members that have spent their entire life here. So and everyone wants the same thing. We want a safe, happy, strong environment. And regardless of whether or not an adult a human has a student in the school, they're going to be impacted by what's going on around them in our world. So I just have the best time. I just feel like I have the opportunity to juggle gifts from our Creator, more or less, and just be able to see things that I wouldn't have if I didn't take this position, and I'm not in this position, and to do really good work for our communities that will not only just impact our students, but impact all of Hood Canal School District and our county.
Thank you. Rebecca, the same question for you.
Would you mind repeating that? I know it was nonpartisan related.
Yes. Board positions are nonpartisan. With that in mind, what do you do to ensure you represent your entire community, especially when subgroups of your community come to you with a request to make decisions favoring their beliefs?
Well, I have also been afforded such great opportunities that have prepared me for such a time as this. I, of course, with the Shelton School District, I was in special needs. And of course, in that arena, you have a variety of abilities and backgrounds. And then I might have mentioned it, but hope I did. But my time with the tribe as well, and all the valuable insights and understanding and skills and knowledge and cultural competence that I built there. And with the state as well, dealing with so many different individuals and coming from so many different backgrounds and histories and beliefs, I feel that that has prepared me to listen with an active ear, because again, as I did mention, it's all about relationships and valuing those relationships and ensuring everyone that I come in contact with see themselves as valuable in my eyes, and their voice is valuable, and where some of what may be suggested or a sense of their own beliefs, I have done a lot of conversations with angry people getting services, and have to be able to articulate the reasoning and the policies and the bigger picture, like I mentioned before, because we as humans tend to get on our blinders and have narrow sight, and we want what we want when we want it. And so I think helping others to see the bigger picture is also a very important factor in being nonpartisan.
Thank you. And Jimmy, did you answer that question?
Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting. I think that Rebecca brings up a good point. There is a lot of, you have to work to give context. everyone has perspectives, everyone has opinions. Some people bring them with excitement, some people bring them with anger, some people are neutral, but emotions play a role. And so you need someone in the role who has the ability to respond from a place that doesn't escalate a situation. And I am an independent. I vote for the person, not for the party. I have a long history of that. I have hard right and hard left people in my family, and I have everyone in between. And I'm able to have relationships with all of those people. And in my businesses, we are politically neutral. And so I think the best thing you can do is when someone comes from a subgroup forward with an idea, whether that's an exciting idea to them or that is, something that they're demanding, um, uh, you have to listen. You have to take in the context from their perspective. Try to understand the motivation for the ask. Give the context about where the barriers are, if there are barriers or concerns, or just any kind of context to help them understand others' positions. They're coming with their own. And the beauty of being on the board is to understand from a bunch of different perspectives what's going on at the school, and then to share that back out. Once you've shared that perspective, if there's still disagreement, or there's a position that can't be fully supported, it's about helping them to understand why you're making a decision the way that you're making the decision. Or maybe there's compromise, and maybe there's something in the motivation of their ask that you can address that helps to bring something forward. But I do think you have to make sure that you're valuing diverse opinions, and that you're hearing from all. We try to encourage participation in our school board open comment session. And also just when I'm out in the community, if I hear people talking about the school or there's an opportunity to engage them. And sometimes we don't want to wait until the issue comes to us. If we can be engaged in the community and help see what might be out there, and have those conversations ahead of time and encourage people to participate so they're aware of all of the other context.
And Wes, would you like to answer that question, please?
No. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Don't you miss me, Deanne? Come on.
I do, yes.
So I'm gonna deviate a little bit from what others have said. So really, okay, so there's a bunch of different topics that can come up from community members. It's not all asks, some of it might be complaints, or hey, why did you guys buy a Kubota instead of a John Deere for the lawn? I mean, just stuff, right? That comes up. So it kind of depends on what the topic is, but I'm just going to assume that it's a big philosophical, political topic. Okay. And we have a operating agreement for our board, and one of our main items on that operating agreement is that individual board members will not carry water for special interest groups, whether we're passionate about the issue or not. I mean, let's face it, we're all politically bent in one direction or another, center right, center left, hard right. We all have our positions that we fall on specific issues, right? So I might be left on some issues and right on others. And, so whatever, this is a nonpartisan position, and you should leave your politics at the door. And that's a really good way of operating, I think. So what happens, and I'm going to use Rebecca's comments. because I agree with, the listening very carefully to what the person is saying and, what they want and that kind of thing. I will never, ever commit to going to a board meeting and bringing their issue to the board. It's up to them to bring it to the superintendent or principal or even the teacher, depending again on what the topic is. Okay. And then moving it up the chain. And if they feel like the board needs to discuss it, they can bring it to the board or have the superintendent bring it to the board, and the topic should be discussed in open forum, with everybody having a say. And that's just simply how it needs to, those things need to be handled. And you just kind of step back from it, step back from yourself, your own beliefs, and realize that you are only one of, 5 other people that need to have this discussion if it's that important. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you all. That was an interesting question, and the answers were very insightful from all of you.
And
So
my
we're
daughters agreed. They were
You
like
got-
wholeheartedly agreeing.
you got a good grade. So we're going to move on now to the next question, and we'll start with Kimberly on this. What do students need?
Students need love, support, safety. Teachers for Hood Canal School, they need to be handed off from a family member onto the bus where they're trusting the bus driver that's taking them, that they know them, that they know that if they're not there, that bus driver is going to check. Then hand it off to the school where the same thing happens. We need to have faith in each other so that when we send our students to school, we know they're being cared for, comfortable, fed, and then ready to learn. They need teachers who can teach not only in one way, but have the heart and instinct to know that not all students learn the same way. COVID set up an interesting thing. A lot of people thought, I don't want to go to school. I want to do it online or do this. But when COVID happened, our students wanted to go to school. They really wanted to go to school. And I think that's made people be happier going there, but it's also created a disconnect with people that did better online. So it seems like we need to also know what other services are around in our area. And is it something that we want to support? And we need to hand that information off to our parents so that we're still part of it. They may not be participating in Hood Canal School District, but they can come to us to know that there's a place that we trust, that we've checked out, that we verify to see is that going to be counted in Washington State? Or is it just a filler and someone really not caring for the individual and filling them with the education that's required for them to go to the next level? So we need excellent updated curriculum. This is a changing world. These are not my gifts. So we really have to depend from the board down, making sure, asking questions to the superintendent, what are we doing and why are we doing it? Asking them to look into it and verify and keep us informed of why is that selected. Help us to know so that when we're communicated, we can support the teachers and we're all supporting each other. So our students need for us to do a good job to make sure that we have the superintendent who is caring for the school, caring and being responsible for the principal, and the principal caring for the teachers and making sure just all the steps down and that we're aware of what each other's doing, and that we feel like if somebody sees an error that we're going to bring it to someone's attention, and that the superintendent will care. And if he doesn't hear about it, we'll tell him. If the teacher doesn't hear about it, they'll tell him, so that we're all prepared to make a nice, well-rounded school. But like Jimmy was saying, with that bond, our students need technology to be able to compete with the world we live in. And so us being able to reach out to our Hood Canal School District, regardless of whether or not the adults in our community have students that they know, so that everyone's feeling good and knowing that they're voting for something that's going to impact us all, but mainly our students, so that they can take care of us. We need them to take care of us and to do to just make it better and better. We need them to make the world a better place.
Thank you. Rebecca, what do students need?
Well, I think we all would agree that students, like the rest of us, do need love and those basic elements, but they also, again, need safety. They need truth. They need trust. They need to be met where they're at. They need to know that there are expectations of them. They need to know that they have a source or sense of accountability. They need relationships. I know I've said it, but that is something that I truly am believing is the foundation of all things, is the relationships. So relationships with their parents, relationships with their family, relationships with their teachers and beyond. They need competent staff that are going to be able to meet them where they're at and be able to guide them through all of the different facets of education. But they need parents that are right there doing the same thing. And as we know, all parents aren't the same. And so having staff that are not only competent to guide the students, but having staff that are have the ability to see issues arising or issues as they have already arrived. They need good, healthy curriculum. They need good health, good nutrition, outdoor play, play with the nature, the water, the streams. They need all of that. So that's just, I guess, a little, I get a little passionate about that, but yeah, those are some of the things that I think children need.
And Jimmy, could you answer that question, please?
Sure. It's a general question, and it's a complex question because my children's needs are very, very different than some of their peers. And like I said, we're a Title I school at Hood Canal. I have to explain to my kids, there are kids that are in their class that may be disruptive because they are hungry. They don't have food. So those kids need food. All kids need love. All kids need socialization. All kids need good curriculum and educated teachers, a supported staff. We had issues last year with our staff with attendance. We've had it since COVID. But last year with our transition in leadership, we just had people calling out. They need regular, engaged staff, but the staff can't be there if you don't have the right leadership. And so I was so excited with our superintendent. They need an engaged community. That means all the retirees that live at the golf courses and along the waterfront in Union and Lake Cushman and Lilywop. We need them to be engaged too and to care so that they can support their needs, like Kimberly said, so that they can have the tools and the technology to do well. But a kid who's coming to school hungry or is coming from an abusive household is definitely someone that has very different needs. We have children in our school. I was so proud of our staff last year. They recognized individual needs and they set up a place for homeless children to shower, and to get food and to get clothing changes throughout the day. So we need a staff that is competent in social emotional learning as well as curriculum, who can make sure that they're addressing the individual needs. And for them to be able to do that, they need to be supported and they need to have training. And they also need to be in a safe place and they need to be able to show up. Because if they're not showing up every day, if our staff isn't showing up every day, then they don't see those needs sometimes that come through. We have an amazing staff at Hood Canal. They do recognize individual needs. We hear it a lot. They show up sometimes in school board meetings. And we just hear some incredible stories. Can we do better? Absolutely. But all kids need a community level support that can recognize individual needs for each child.
Thank you. And Wes, what do students need?
Well, that's such an easy question to answer. No, it's very complicated. And I don't disagree with anything that's been said prior. I would like to expound on the individual needs aspect, though. I agree with love, parental engagement, competent staff, understanding relationships. I agree with all of that. But what I really think that kids need, I also agree with accountability too, like, structure, right? And expectations, just like how you'd raise your own children, the children at the school need that structure. But what they really need is to be known, right? They need to be seen. They need to be understood. They need to be seen as individuals, as people, as, with different personalities, different needs. At Grapeview, we've developed, and Deanne's going to be shocked because this has been something that has been talked about for years. But we finally were able to use technology to track every individual student and know where they needed help, where they needed to be challenged, and where they were in between, right? So like, for instance, when I was going to school, terrible at math, which is so funny because my job is all math now, God's little joke to play on me, right? But I really excelled in English language. And, but back then there wasn't anything, you were just at the level you were at, and that's it. Well, now we're able to take individual students and say, okay, so we need to give some extra attention on mathematics and maybe science. But look at, you're a rock star with English language. Now we're going to start challenging you with high school level curriculum. Let's say they're in 6th grade, 7th grade. We're going to challenge them with 8th grade English language and 9th grade, and really push them a little bit. So, we are identifying where kids need help and where they help them enjoy education in things that they enjoy, and then help bring them up with their class on things that they're falling behind on. We really actually see that kid individually. And the teachers have development days every week. It's like a late start, and they're in PLCs. Everybody knows what a PLC is. Okay. And they get together to discuss the challenges that they're having and what's working for them, and they're sharing, they're very collaborative on technique and method and that sort of thing. So I really feel like kids need to feel like they matter, and that we care about them and we care about their performance. If we just say, oh, I'm going to pick on you, Jimmy. That Jimmy, comes from a poor background, and he just doesn't get algebra, and so we ignore you, right? That's not what kids need. Okay. So um maybe I went on too long. I'm sorry, but it's I get emotional thinking about it. So
Thank you. And our next question, we'll start with Rebecca. Rebecca, what are your expectations of student outcome? How are they measured and how can they be achieved?
Expectations of student outcome. Well, that they meet their grade level requirements would be probably number one. And if they aren't, and according to the testing that is available, and not just kind of the end result testing, but along the way, how are they being, how is the testing being done, and if it's not or if it's showing that they're not excelling, or that they're not moving forward in the right direction, what's being done? And so of course, we do have the state testings, and the scoring throughout the year of the teacher, but what is being done during that whole year? And so that would be really important to review. And according to what the state standards are, ensuring that we are aware of those, and that they are meeting those. And if they aren't, then we're trying to get to and I'm sure will be more than one reason why, but really trying to dig in to see what is preventing them from getting to those state standards. So that's probably all I have to say on that at this point.
Thank you. And Jimmy, what are your thoughts on this question?
Well, I echo a little bit about what Rebecca was saying. Obviously, there's state standards. What my expectations are is that we are sending kids on to Shelton High School because we're K through 8. That we're sending them on prepared, not just from an academic perspective, but that we also are sending them on prepared for success in high school. It's a big transition to go from a K through 8 into a high school. I think we have a little bit of a different responsibility when kids have gone. They don't have a middle school. It's just K through 8, and all of a sudden they go to a big high school. Are we setting them up to make sure that they can succeed, even if they are performing at their grade levels when in the 8th grade with us? How else can they be involved and grow their community when they go on to high school? So I think there's other things that we can also track and engage them, their participation level in sports, extracurricular activities, different measurements that we don't think of that really impact kids who have high hormone levels that are transitioning into something major, that they could be successful in the 8th grade, but then go on to high school and not be successful there. I know I went to Running Start my junior year of high school. I didn't see any of my friends, and it was very traumatic. I went back for my senior year in high school, and it was the best year of my life. And I was very successful, and I went on and had a very successful career. So I wasn't prepared for that transition. I think that our school district has a unique responsibility. We are struggling academically. There's a lot of fundamental reasons. I've touched on some of those. And there is a need for some individualized plans, especially with impact from COVID and impact from different groups within our school district. We as a school board have been spending a lot of time. We started last year meeting with staff and looking at internal assessments. We use iReady, which is an assessment tool. That's not just a state assessment tool that can give us snapshots in the fall, winter, and spring to see progress of where the kids are deficient in the fall and where they're trending, so that we can ask questions. Obviously, we're not the administrators of the school, but we can ask questions from our administration about what are the strategies, what are the plans, what are the procedures being put in place based on our stated goals and mission that we've put forward. We also have identified through our administration where our kids don't take a lot of tests necessarily. So part of it could be that students in other districts that take a lot of tests are just better prepared to answer some of those questions. That came up when we were reviewing our iReady scores, and we're seeing progress with our kids. And then yet that doesn't necessarily translate into the state numbers. And so there may be some test anxiety or just some testing know-how that our kids don't have the practice. So our superintendent is planning to do some additional testing throughout the year to give those kids more prep for when those tests do come. You don't want to teach to the test, but you also don't want to send your kids into an environment where in Shelton, they may be taking tests more regularly and they're not prepared for that. So I think it's a little bit of a complex answer because it can't just be about the academics. We are sending our kids on to a different place, and it's a very, very big school, and we have to make sure that they're prepared socially and emotionally as well as academically.
Okay. And Wes, what are your expectations of student outcome at Grapeview?
Well, yeah, the kind of overarching basic answer is, the state sets standards, right? And we test, all along to that. However, we're in a similar position as Hood Canal, where we are sending our children off to the foreign power, right? The North Mason School District. So you guys go to Shelton, we go to North Mason, and our kids traditionally in the past, like I'm talking years ago, probably before I was on the board, we were a small school and we were only able to offer so much enrichment programs for kids. Over the years, we have really added robust sports programs and a very robust performing arts program as well. And so we're doing amazing musicals and, just amazing performance art, like theater tech, building sets and that kind of thing. So when they step into the North Mason environment, and this is something that I learned from when my girls graduated and went to North Mason, they were so woefully unprepared for the North Mason program that I was like, okay, I desperately need to, bring this to our board and talk about it at every opportunity I can, because like the band, my daughter went into band and I mean, it was her training was remedial at best. Okay. And she went into theater. Well, she had to start from scratch. And so I believe that there is more to it than just academic. It's the enrichment and the social preparedness for the high school experience. They also went to Running Start, Jimmy, and I know exactly what you're talking about there. In fact, my daughter went to Running Start part-time so that she could keep her foot into theater at North Mason. So that's could share some stories about that probably. But so yeah, that's my answer. And also I'm sorry I when I agreed to come here, I didn't realize it was going to be 13 questions. I'm running out of time, so I might have time to do one more. Okay.
And we are going to take, after Kimberly answers this question, we are going to go to the last question. And I'd like you to stay for that. It's yeah. So Kimberly, what are your expectations of student outcome?
Like what was said, was to meet the standards, but to exceed them at the same time. I don't want us to forget about the gifted students. So we're moving up in all directions, from the side, in between, everywhere. So it seems like right now we're concerned about everyone, not everyone, a lot of students being behind, or that's kind of the message. But there are some that just never did get behind. As a matter of fact, they excelled because now they're able to communicate in a way that's more that fits better for them. So we really need to make sure that we're keeping the momentum of individuals that were succeeding going, and even adding to that, while adding momentum to the ones that weren't successful and making up, all at the same time. And Hood Canal School has a really good chance of doing that because the teachers do love our students. We have some, I think leadership's been a strong hindrance, and I just believe that attendance will get better for our teachers because they are going to want to be there, and for the students as well. So I think that we've been in a very rough place, and I think it's important to say that, but we're also moving in a good place and stronger as a result of it.
Thank you. So this is your last question, and we'll start with Wes. If you had a magic wand and could change one thing about your district, what would it be?
Only one?
One.
Oh my gosh. Let's see, beef Wellington at lunch. No. I guess that I would elevate everybody to exceeds, state standards. I mean, just kind of with the magic wand, open their heads, pour in whatever knowledge needs to happen, give them a great experience at Grapeview, and send them to North Mason, the most prepared kid ever to hit high school and just ready to take on the world. That would be my genie wish, I suppose.
Okay, Jimmy, what would your magic wand do?
Well, I think, absolutely aligned with Wes on, if we could grant that to every kid in the world, who wouldn't want that? I'm going to be a little bit more practical in my answer. I absolutely agree with that, though. We are trying to pass a bond right now. Like I said, we have students trying to do art on a stage. It's not a classroom. We can't have a drama program because our stage is being used as a classroom. We don't have a music program. Didn't get to see my little kids, sing. We don't have instruments in there. We do have a superintendent with a musical background now. So I'm excited to see what he could do. But to make that happen, our space is pretty used. We don't have science labs. So if I had a magic wand, we'd get to that 60% plus number in November, and we would see a science room. We would see our Boots program that is so incredible and unique that people come from around the country to view that and learn from it, have more space. We'd have a music and art program, and our early learning space would actually be designed for early learning.
Thank you. Kimberly, what would your magic wand do?
I made it back just in time. I'm just right there. I can hear. I'm just tucking in my daughter. Mine would be to have all of the most modern techniques, equipment, computers, and programs available in the world today, so that we would be rich with the science, the arts, and I think the only way that would be successful is to show and demonstrate to our students how to dream. When I was a student, I did what I was told. And I didn't really understand the process of dreaming and visualizing what you're going to be in the future. And I think the only way that we can do that is to put our students in a place where they see it. So we had Japanese exchange students. My daughter wanted to go to Japan. She ended up going to the JET program. She went there. Had we done other countries, I know she'd be there. She's been to several as a result of having friends from there, and it gets contagious. I want our students to be able to dream out as far as they want, but yet stay right here in our district, because we have a beautiful district. Our world here is beautiful, but it would be more beautiful if we had all of the things, the jobs and everything right here, and we didn't have to go anywhere. We could do good work right from where we're sitting comfortably anywhere in the world that we choose, based off our education that we received when we were at Hood Canal School. So by the time we get into the high school and the colleges, we have a good sense of the direction that we want to move.
Thank you. And Rebecca, tell us about your magic wand.
Oh, this is fun. So the instant thought that came to me was, if I had the magic wand, I would ensure the success of every student, and that they knew that they are valued, they knew that they were important, they knew that their voice matters, and that they can make a difference. They would consider themselves a champion of public education. They would be prepared to enter society, to do the best with what they have, because we all know we can't have everything we want or wish for or dream of, but they do the best with what they have, and they have resilience, and they're passionate about contributing positively to society, to love all people.
Thank you. And thank you all for being here this evening. And your answers were thoughtful and heartfelt and sincere. And I don't know about the rest of the spectators, but I learned a lot, not only about you, but about your districts this evening. And that was really what our goal was. So have a great rest of your evening. And thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
We appreciate
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciate you, the work you do.
Bye, guys.
All
Bye.
right. Sayonara.